super nice, super clean. Alright fam, what's good? We're at Racetrack. We just got some ethanol. Gonna go for a quick drive back to West Palm. There is a spot underneath a little bit of like a tunnel, and I want to do a exhaust review, mod review, and talk about a few things that are going on in the world, including what just happened with the stock market today, cold calling for those of you who want to improve your sales experience, and yeah, let's get to it. So first of all, this car, 2025 M4 CS, it's Brooklyn gray underneath. It has the red carbon ceramic brakes, and pretty much for options on the CS, you could get the ceramic brakes as an option or one of the optional colors. So you have Riviera blue and Isle of Man green as the other choices, along with black metallic paint. So when you're looking at the CSs, the most important thing for me is the carbon ceramic brakes. Everything else from there is secondary. So you can get these wheels in gold or black. I have the gold ones. I honestly thought the Brooklyn gray spec with gold wheels and red carbon ceramics was just so classy, and something that long term, if I want to sell the car, it's something that's going to have value, you know, like someone will look at that spec and be like, yeah, that's a very nice spec. So I was watching the market for quite a long time. I was looking at the M4 CS and the M4 CSL. The CSL was coming down to like 104,000, 105,000. There were also some nicely modified M3 CSs that were hovering at like 115 to 120, and then unmodified M3 CSs were like 120 to 130. The M4 CS was hovering between, I would say, like anywhere between 120 and 140, and those were very low mileage or even new ones. So the CSL is an even lighter version of the M4, but it's rear wheel drive only. It is very much suited for the track, and if you want something that you're going to take road trips in, you're going to take the family in, there's no rear seats. So although it was really attractive because it was at a lower price point, there was even one in Naples. Ferrari of Naples had one for 102,000, and I was really going to jump on it, but then I found this M4 CS in California. It was an MSRP of almost 130, and I got it for 120 because it had 2,000 miles on it, and it was a manager special, so the dealership was actually letting their manager drive it. So I leased it from them. And immediately when you lease a car, there's a residual value, which is what the car is going to be worth at the end of the lease. I was immediately in a position where the car had equity because this is a CS. It holds its value better than an M4 competition, which, by the way, the M4 competitions, because there were so many new variants and trims, like the competition started to get more power. There's an LCI, there's an X-Drive. The pricing is all over the place, but they've dropped quite a bit, you know? They have a lot of depreciation. The CS in the past 2-3 months has actually appreciated like 5 to 15K depending on your trim, spec, all of that. So I'm at a position where at 30,000 miles at the end of the lease, where I'm probably going to be at, I can either buy out the car, take the equity, because I'll have equity in the car. It's going to be worth more than the residual value that the dealership set, and use that equity on a new car, or just lease something else with the equity. So there's a lot of opportunities to do things, and the dealership that I got it from, they have a network. So when you have a relationship with a dealership that has multiple brands, it makes it much easier when you're moving from one car to the other in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. I personally love this car to the point where I'd like to keep it, so that's my long-term plan. And you know, the numbers game, it's fun because it sets you up in a position where you can exit the car, and you should think about that. But for the most part, you know, when you get to drive a car and not worry about the miles, it's perfect. It's hard for a lot of car guys to separate, you know, miles, driving, all of that, but I think the most important thing is being present. So for me, to get the chance to actually drive this car, document the footage for people to get motivated, to get a better sense of the car, and just know that I have that unique chance in history to do it, and that I enjoy doing it. It's a whole different feeling. It's not really about the miles, but you still have to be smart. And I think that's where the approach, I think, to what you can do in this life to have fun is what people consider like that duck approach, where you have a lot of things going on underneath the surface so that you can, you know, freely swim on top of the water, you know what I mean? And to have a lot of things going on underneath the surface can mean running businesses, having revenue streams like YouTube, doing that as a creative, you know, content goal that holistically ties in, if you have a brand, to what else you're doing. Maybe you're selling things, you know, access to information, like through my Discord. So, you know, when you have a lot of things going on, it makes it easier to swim at the surface, but people just don't know. And I think the difference between being able to mature and break free into a next level of kind of reality is to still have a mindset when things go wrong that, you know, it will work out, and not to go back into a fearful mindset even when you have a lot of things going on, because that will show up at the surface, you know what I mean? When the water and this is such a funny metaphor, but when the water at the surface is not calm and you withdraw into a fearful mindset, that's how, you know, you basically lose your momentum, because you'll slip up and you won't trust yourself to, you know, swim properly or adjust whatever needs to be adjusted to deal with the rough waters at the time. And remember, storms are temporary. What people, I think, get caught up in is existing in the future or an upcoming kind of stress and living there and not dealing with anything in the present because they're just living in the future stress, which is a really kind of strange thing to do. Yeah, people in Florida have no idea how to merge. I definitely learned that the hard way. Yeah, I can hear a metallic tinge coming from the rear, which is crazy. Section where we were talking, the car was in comfort mode, and it's so quiet inside the car, and I think a lot of YouTubers, especially TJ Hunt, picked up on it, but the M4 is still one of the greatest platforms out there to do everything in one package, especially when you have the rear seats, unlike the CSL where you don't get the rear seats. But with rear seats, X-Drive, the ability to go completely from a luxury cruising, you know, grand touring car, windows up, quiet, it's amazing. And then to be able to switch towards like a super high performance, you know, supercar level performance car with all the performance attributes and an insane aftermarket to support it, you're looking at like a pinnacle of modern engineering. And yes, you know, Porsches are pretty much the best sports cars that you can buy. There's no doubt. That's for sure. But Porsches are moving into the $200,000 plus price point, where the M4 is still at $100,000. You can get a fully spec'd out one for $100,000. You can get a CSL for probably $105,000. You can get a CS for probably $110,000 to $115,000. And those are extremely special cars. Whereas you'll get a Carrera with options and the dealership will probably charge you some more money on top. And you're looking at, you know, close to 200 with tax, which is insane. Really crazy. $100,000 price range, then why are you even thinking about like everyday sports cars? You should be thinking about McLarens and Ferraris, you know, and the Huracan STO, by the way, what an incredible car. I think that's appreciated a ton, and it should. The Audi R8 V10, that thing I think has come down to 120. What an insane car for the price. You can get a 991 GT3 also, still for about 115 to 130. I would go for the R8 V10 over the GT3 in that case. So what I've been doing recently is changing the burble just by hitting the exhaust button. Sounds pretty good. It's at 0.3 seconds on MHD right now on the tune. But I can turn it off too, which is crazy. So here, if I hit the exhaust button now, there's no burble whatsoever. Try and see if we can find this tunnel. A major difference of the CS is the full center console tunnel being carbon fiber, which is a super nice touch. There's no other interior colors other than the black with red kind of accents. And I think maybe that's an area that they could have done differently on the CS. See if it's this South Australian exit that we can take. I think it's on the way back. Yeah, we probably have to go through there. And with no burbles, it's super clean with the resonated mid pipe, catless downpipes, valve controller, and intakes. Don't really need much else. Let me see if it's back here, guys. I'm wondering if I'm going the right direction. I think that's it. So we'll go through the tunnel with the burbles on and with the burbles off. Amazing. Incredible. Sounded super nice. Super clean. Now, with the verbals on, I'm gonna put it in all-wheel drive too, just in case there's some, you know, debris or whatever. Very nice. Now my water bottle is vibrating, but that's the only other noise I can hear. Not much of a speed bump there.